What is happening, everybody? My name's Seven and welcome to a brand new Ghost Recon series. Now, this series is going to be looking at the legends within the game, breaking them down bit by bit and providing you guys with more information about Wildlands and how realistic a lot of the things within the game actually are and what they relate to in real life. So today, we're going to be going looking at the Nazi bunker. Now, I have been here before and I went here with my best friend Aurora. However, I haven't actually covered it as a specific subject and broken it down and explained it to you guys and showed you the detail that Ubisoft went to within the world of Bolivia. So today we are going to Klaus Barbie's hideout. Now, I will break this down and explain a little bit more about this guy, where he came from, what he was about, and all the horrible things that he did. Before we go in here to his hideout, I'm going to show you on the map where this is if you already haven't been here, so you guys can come and actually have a look. It's in Monte Puchu, just before you cross the border going into Tabacalera, up the top section of the map. Now, this might show as a question mark, or if you've already been here, it'll say Klaus Barbie's house, the home where the war criminal lived in hiding. So this is where we're going to be visiting today and having a look at in greater detail. Klaus Barbie, also known as Nicholas Barbie, was a SS and Gestapo functionary during the Nazi era, and he was well known as the Butcher of Leon. So let's rewind. The SS, also known as the Schutzstaffel, was a major paramilitary organization that functioned under Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in Nazi Germany. This began as a small unit of individuals who were put together who volunteered to basically build a security party for meetings that occurred in Munich. Now, over time and during the war, the SS expanded into different groups and different subcategories, so there were different divisions that were formed using the SS. So the first, of course, is the General SS, then there was the Armed SS, and the one that Klaus was involved with. Now, Klaus played a large part in the SS, especially the subdivision known as the SS-TV. Now, these are the people that were basically known for running the concentration camps and the extermination camps. One of the very well-known subdivisions of the SS was the Gestapo, and this was also something Klaus was a part of. Now, the SS is the organization that is infamously known for the genocidal killing of an estimated 5.5 to 6 million Jews, and then on top of that, millions of others during the Holocaust. And once the Nazis had been defeated, the SS and the NSDAP were judged very heavily by the International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg, and they were put under the title of criminal organizations. Now, at the time, Ernest Kaltenbrunner was the highest ranking surviving SS officer, so he was found guilty of the crimes against humanity at the Nuremberg trials, and he was hanged in 1946. But for Klaus, he escaped. Now, Klaus himself was sentenced to death for his war crimes, but he managed to avoid them for quite some time, and eventually he was able to immigrate to Bolivia. Now, allegedly, the only reason he wasn't killed for his war crimes within an instant was because the US Army Counterintelligence Corps, known as CIC, helped him flee to Bolivia through the assisted rat lines that were organized by the US intelligence services. Now, the only reason this occurred was because the CIC asserted that Barbie knew too much about the network of German spies that the CIC themselves had planted in various European communist organizations. But their protection of Barbie could have also just been to avoid the actual embarrassment of having said, we actually recruited this guy in the first place. When Barbie immigrated to Bolivia, he was known under the name of Klaus Altman, and he was very, very successful when he lived in Bolivia. The change of name made it much easier for him to find work within Europe itself, and of course it made his life a lot easier already having been introduced into the country, so he spent his life hanging around with high-ranked Bolivian officials. He played a large part within the arms trade that actually occurred within Bolivia, and during this time he was also appointed to Lieutenant Colonel within the Bolivian Armed Forces. And this is where things started going downhill for Klaus. In 1971, he was identified as being in Peru. Now, the Klausfelds, which were known as the Nazi hunters from France, they came across a secret document that had been revealed, and it showed his alias. On the 19th of January 1972, the information was published in a French newspaper, alongside with a photograph of Altman, which the Klausfelds obtained from a German extradite living in Lima. Now, when you arrive at this location in the secret bunker, there will be a legend here attached to Klaus, which you can find in your Kingslayer files. When you open this up, it does break down what Klaus is all about, and that he is the Nazi war criminal wanted by the French and the German authorities that had been spotted in South America. So this is the actual in-game version of this French article that basically exposed his alias. Despite the global outcry where everyone wanted Klaus to pay the price for his war crimes, he was able to return to Bolivia, where the Bolivian government refused to extradite him, and this was because they said that France and Bolivia did not have any extradition treaties, and it stated that his war crimes had supposedly expired. Now, my personal opinion, once you commit a crime there is no expiry, you should still be punished. Now, the Italian Parliamentary Commission on Terrorism suggested that Klaus had played a part in the cocaine coup of the very well-known leader Luis at the time in Bolivia. When the regime forced itself into the power of Bolivia in 1980, it only took 3 years until there was a newly selected democratic government, and this basically meant that he was arrested and he was able to be shipped and extradited from Bolivia and moved to France, where he would then stand trial for his war crimes. In 1984, Barbie was accused of committing crimes as the Gestapo chief in Lyon between the years of 1942 and 1944, at which it was 3 years later that he stood trial on the 11th of May 1987 in Lyon before a courtroom of 700 people. Unusually, the courtroom allowed this to be filmed so that it could be captured for the historical value.
La Cour et le jury condamnent à la majorité Klaus Barbie à la peine de la réclusion criminelle à perpétuité. L'audience criminelle est levée. L'audience... Silence, s'il vous plaît, je vous en prie. Silence, s'il vous plaît. Silence, s'il vous plaît.
His 41 separates of counts of crimes against humanity were based upon the depositions of 730 Jews and French resistance survivors who described how he tortured and murdered prisoners. Klaus tried to claim that his extradition was technically illegal and asked to be excused from the trial, and so he was. He was returned to the prison St. Paul. He remained in prison for 15 days, so on the 26th of May 1987 he faced some of his accusers during a testimony and he had nothing to say. Klaus's only strategy of defense was to talk about the war crimes committed by France in 1945. Now, this of course doesn't clear him of his own personal war crimes, but this was the only defense he had. Now, he did manage to get the prosecution to drop some of the charges against him, but it left him with many charges remaining. During this trial, Klaus said a very famous quote. He stated, "When I stand before the throne of God, I shall be judged innocent." The court rejected the defense argument, and on the 4th of July 1987, Barbie was convinced and sentenced to life imprisonment. He died in prison in Lyon 4 years later of leukemia and cancer of the spine and prostate at the age of 77. And that was the life and the extradition and the involvement of Klaus Barbie within Bolivia, and that is why there is this bunker that exists within the game. This area outside is one of the locations that you can come to that allows you to go down into the bunker, and the button that I showed earlier in the gameplay is the button you can press to open up the door on the inside of the house. So if you want to go down at this bunker, just head into the house in here, and in here you'll be able to see a bunch of different fine details. There's lots of rubbish lying around, and of course you can't miss the giant steel door. Now, if you get close to this, just before you even open it, you can see through the gap there is light down and leading down some form of stairwell. This is how a lot of people then started looking around and realized that there was a hidden bunker that you could have access to. I think that's also the reason why they had the outside, so that people would 100% find it. This is of course just food lying around that Klaus would have actually used himself, would have ate part of. Now what you want to do is come over to the shelf, and behind this skull it will come up saying, if you've got your hood on to have the interaction, it'll say use, and you'll be able to just push the skull out of the way, push a button, and that will open up the hidden door that leads down into the secret bunker of Klaus Barbie. Now this is a very dark and dingy area. As you've probably seen earlier on in the video, there are many fine details. Now this is the button I was speaking about, where if you come outside you go through that way instead of coming through this door. You better push that and it will open up the door we just came out of by interacting with it. But if you come in through this way through the house, which in my personal opinion is the better way to do it, you get a great entrance into his hideout. This is built upon the actual hideout that he had himself. He would have had numerous places that he would have lived and stayed in, but it's pretty grim. It's not very nice, very low air condition, of course. You know, for somebody hiding from war crimes, this isn't particularly a bad place for him. You know, he's got water stocked up, he's got some nice chairs, some nice places to chill. Unfortunately, you can't see what any of the books actually say. It'd be cool if there'd been some very highly detailed books, and I'm not sure if this is an actual photo crafted based upon Klaus. customized to the bunker, and that's why I decided I'm going to zoom on and have a look at the detail. I'm not 100% if that is just him or if that's just a standard one. It might just be a standard one because there are images of the market as well within Bolivia, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But make sure that you come here, guys, and collect the legend. This is one of the many that you have to find in the game, and I honestly do hope that you enjoyed this new series idea. I will be breaking down all the other legends within the game itself. As you can see, when we open up the Kingslayer files, there are a bunch of different ones even in this area, let alone in the other provinces. So honestly, I look forward to making more videos like this in the future, and as well, let me know what legends you would like me to go into depth about in the comments section below. Guys, I will see you in the comments. My name's been Seven, also known as Martin Lee Wood. Like and comment on all that you love. Take care of yourselves, guys. Peace.